In the last lecture, we have added animated sprite 2D node to our player, and we have provided sprites to the animation. So in the sprite frames, we have these 4 frames, which they are playing 5 frames per second, and this, well, in our game, it's creating this idle animation. In this lecture, we'll be talking more about programming, about a scripting language GDScript, which is a part of the Godot, and we'll try to move our player. Okay, let's start. How we can move actually player? When we will click on the player here, click the player, zoom in a little bit closer, click here transform. Current position of the player is 0, 0, so it's a middle. You see, it's in the middle of our grid system here in the middle. That's the position 0, 0. When we want to move around, we need to change the position. So when we will increase the x, it will be moving right. All right. When we will increase the y, I think that should be up or down. I'm not pretty sure, but we'll check it out. So we'll increase the x, we'll be moving right. This is 10x. This is 20. All right. Then y 10, I'm going down actually. Okay, so increasing the y, we are going down. Okay, so that's how you want to move. So click this move mode, W, click on the player and you can move it around. So you can see on the right side in the transform, notice it as it's changing. And this is what we want to do from the code. Depending on what keys we are holding, that's the direction where we want to move. So if I will be holding the right key, let's move the player back to 0, 0. Back to 0, 0. Okay, so if I'll be holding the right key, okay, right arrow, so the key on the keyboard, the right arrow, so I'll be holding the right arrow. Then I want to increase the x position, okay, so x plus plus. Okay, I want to increase the x position. So we are starting in a 0, but as I'm holding the keyboard right arrow, then I will be increasing it. So as I'm holding it, it will become 1, 2, 3, and so on, and this will be moving my player this direction. If I will be holding y, all right, then we need to decrease the y, right? So to move up, oh, actually down. We need to be decreasing y, okay? So if I want to go up here, the y needs to be decrementing, minus minus. So we need to go from the 0y to minus 1, minus 10, and so on. We want to go up here. And if I want to go, let's say, like this direction, this means what arrow I need to hold. I need to hold the arrow on my keyboard right. At the same time, I'm holding up, and this will create this diagonal movement. I need to increase x. At the same time, I need to decreasing y. All right, and it will be creating this diagonal movement because I will be going, let's say, to position 10 and minus 10. So x will be 10, and y will be minus 10, and this will get me here. Let's say 10. And minus 10. And this we want to perform from the code. We want to go to the position 10 and minus 10. Okay, let's do it. Let's create a code actually. How can we do it? Click on the player here. You can create a script directly here. You see this script is empty currently. Or in the file system, just click here, script, click here, and new script, and call it. It can be called player actually. That's a good name. Player.gd. GD scripting language. It's called. Well, it's a Godot scripting language. GDScript. Okay. So create. Okay. And now we are in built-in editor of Godot. I will be not using the external editors. I'll be not using Visual Studio Code. I'm used to this editor. So we'll be coding here. Just adjust it to yourself as you need. If you see, if you will be with the mouse scrolling up and you will be scrolling with your mouse, or on the touchpad, you will be doing this touch gesture. You can select the font size or how much will be you zoomed in. Okay, so we are, and also in our file sim, notice here we have a player. So on the left side here we have this scripting file, player.jd. We have our scene files. Okay. And you can see it extends Node2D because we have created a script here under the Node2D. You see here we have a Node2D and we have created a script here. So this means we are extending the Node2D. What you can search also for, if you are just beginning with this, you can also search the online docs, online documentation. to learn about coding practices and the functionalities, or search help here. You can see search help, and I can search here for Node 2D, for example, and I can search what available functionalities, what properties I have on these nodes, and methods I can use, and so on. Okay, so to get back, actually, just click here on the player. See here. Here we have player JD, Node 2D. So just select your player JD, and we can add code to our player script. Okay. We can also name this. We don't need to necessarily do it, but we can name this as our class name, and we can name it player. We don't have to do it, actually. So yeah, let's keep it. Keep here player. I think when I will create a class name, I can now right-click here and add child node, and I can search here for player, and you can see the player is here. We can add this node, player. Okay. When I will remove this, and I will add here child node, I shouldn't be able to see the player here. Yeah, so that's the one difference. When you create a class name, all this, you can create it as the separate node later. Okay, and yeah, so you don't need to create a class name player for this reason now. Okay, so there's an extend node 2D. It's very empty file, but very important function here, actually, how we are writing functions in GDScript. Functions are starting with the keyword func, all right? And there are built-in functions. One of the built-in functions you can override is underscore, and you can see already have it available here, draw, enter tree, exit tree, get, and so on. But what they're looking for is a process delta. As you will see in the GDScript, you don't have a curly brackets. So maybe you're using like this in the JavaScript to the curly brackets, you don't have it here. The function name starts with the func keyword, function name, and number of properties, just in this case only one property called delta. And then you will write a column, and after the column, you'll be writing the function body. Okay? So one of the early things we can do here, just print out something. So if you want to debug something in your console, display something in the console, you just write a print, brackets, and string you want to print out. So say hello world, like this. Now you can call your code, so command B, and now you should see hello world called multiple times. Okay? So what is this delta here actually? You can see this property called delta. When you will hover over the process, we have here a description here. So just hover your mouse over and you can see called during the processing step of the main loop. Processing happens at every frame and as fast as possible. So the delta time since the previous frame is not constant, and delta is in seconds. Okay. And also it will say you that the delta is float. I don't know if you see it when you will hover over. You see in the first line, the delta is float. So we can also specify. We don't have to do it because that's not mandatory in a GDScript, the scripting language. So we can write here float. So it's clear, the delta is float. So as we learned, the process is called at each frame. Your game is running in the frames per second. So in 1 second, you will display multiple frames on your screen, and this create this animation effect, okay? Because everything will be static, nothing would be getting animated. So if I will move the player, I need to refresh my screens 60 times per second, for example. And 60 times per second, I need to process my code. So 60 times per second, I need to change the position of the player, and so on. So this process is called multiple times. And depends on the machine. It doesn't have to be 60 frames. It can be 120 frames per second. It can be 60 frames per second. It can be 30 frames per second. Depends on your machines. So this code here, we can check it out how many frames per second it's called, because we can just do simple calculation. I'll read it for you. So if something is running 60 frames per 1 second, okay, so we have a 1 second divided by 60 frames. This means 1 frame is run at each of 0.016 second. Okay, that's how often. Okay, this will be called. This will be called every 0.016 second. Okay, if I would run 120 frames per second, so 1 divided by 120, it will be the even smaller number, 0.008. That will be called that often in 1 second. So let's discover how is our FPS. So I'll already print here and just delta. Okay, press Command B. And here you can see it's around 0.08 for me. So this means I'm running this at 120 frames per second for me. Okay, so yeah, I can tell from this number that this will be around 120 frames per second. If you see here 0.016, this means you're running 60 frames per second. So if I'm running 120 FPS, this function process is called 120 times per second. And this is very important information. Okay, we will leave it here. Very simple script. Just a process with printing out the delta. And in the next lecture, we'll create a movement for our player. So see you there. Cheers.